Well, welcome everyone. It's 10 a.m., so we'll get started. I'm Lauren Anderson, and I'm the director of the Osher Lifelong Learning Institute at the University of Utah. And I want to thank you all for joining us in the webinar today. It is always a pleasure to see people and to have instructors with us. And today is going to be a great day where we talk about some of the classes that we're offering this fall. You can find all of our classes on our website, but this webinar and the video that it'll create and the Facebook live stream that we're offering are going to be an opportunity for you to hear from the instructors and get a sense of what they'll be teaching. We can only learn so much from print. That's why we take classes. And so this is your opportunity to hear from the people about what they'll teach and engage in a Q&A or some chat if you have questions. With me today, I have our Osher staff. I have Jill Meyer, our program coordinator.
Hello, everybody.
Jill is responsible for putting all of these classes together and working with the instructors and coming up with our schedule and coordinating with our curriculum committee. And then we have Sheila Jacobson, our special events coordinator.
Hi, everyone.
And Sheila is responsible not only for the special events, but also for this big event. So she is the woman behind the scenes, making sure that we are all where we need to be today. So we thank her for all of her work behind the scenes. And then we have Emily Miller, who is our program assistant.
Hi, everyone.
And Emily joined us in March. So as everyone went home and the pandemic hit and we closed up, Emily joined our team. So you may not have seen her, but she is answering emails, registering people, helping to process payments, and getting all of the information that you need ready for class. We could not do this without this amazing team. So before I jump into our instructor previews, I just want to say a few things about what fall is going to look like. And let you know that if you have questions about what it's going to be like to take classes with Osher this fall, there's information on our website, and this chat and Q&A is an opportunity to ask those questions. The majority of our classes are online this fall. So this fall, we are offering the majority of our classes online through this Zoom application. The Zoom application allows you to talk to your instructors, to see friends, and to have discussions. So this is the tool we've been using. We started this online adventure in March, and we had over 300 people enroll for our spring term. Then we had over 600 enrollments as we went into summer. And so as you've been coming along, we've had more and more people engage with our Zoom classes. We think this is a great way to keep the conversation and keep education and curiosity happening with Osher. We will have some face-to-face classes, and you will hear from some of those instructors today. So we will be offering face-to-face classes. We will be observing social distancing. We will be requiring masks in the university buildings. We will have hand sanitizer. We will be doing everything we can to make sure that individuals stay safe. As you look online and register, or you check out the catalog, you will see we've indicated where classes are face-to-face and where classes are online. So make sure if there's a physical address, that means you're meeting face-to-face. And if you are meeting via Zoom, you'll see that in the catalog and online as well. Once you sign up, you'll get some links to your class, or you'll get a syllabus and materials, and you'll be meeting everybody virtually. If you are new to Zoom and you haven't tried it yet, as an Osher member, you also have the opportunity to take some special events where you can train to use Zoom. And so Sheila Jacobson is leading Osher members through some training on how to log into Zoom, how to get comfortable with Zoom, how to use some of the features like turning on or off your microphone or your video. And so those start next week. Sheila's hosting them, some of those next week. You can find those on our website under the special events. With that, I'm going to start off our instructor preview. We'd like to invite Santosh Gandhi to share information about her class, an introduction to Hinduism and its most sacred text. And Santosh, I always mess up the Bhagavad Gita. I say it wrong every time, so you'll correct me. But she's here with us right now. And Santosh, off to you. I need you to unmic or unmute your microphone. We can't hear you.
Okay.
There you are.
Can you hear me?
Yes,
Okay.
wonderful.
Okay. So my name is Santosh Gandhi, and I am going to be talking about Hinduism and its most sacred spiritual text, Bhagavad Gita. You know, Mahatma Gandhi called Bhagavad Gita his moral compass because it is the meaning of Bhagavad Gita is Song of the Lord, and it is a 6-6 course, and I will be talking about the relevance of Bhagavad Gita in day-to-day life. And the topics I would be covering are the, the scriptures, the most common Hindu scriptures like Vedas and Upanishads. I will be covering the philosophy defined in the Upanishads. I'll be giving a background of Bhagavad Gita, and I will be describing the relevance of Bhagavad Gita's message in day-to-day life. You know, the most common topics covered in Bhagavad Gita are karma theory, destiny, and free will. So do we have a free will, or is everything determined by destiny? I will be talking about ethical living, dharma, which is common to all religions. There is nothing special about Hinduism, but the only thing is, in Hinduism, the definition of dharma or ethical living is a situation dependent. You know, like ahimsa, the non-violence is the path of non-violence where the non-violence is when it does the least harm. Like in the case of abortion, if the mother's life is in danger, then abortion is legal. So the least harm is what we call ahimsa or non-hurting. I'll talk about reincarnation. I'll talk about karma theory, karma yoga, and all Indian religions, they actually accept these tenets, like Sikhism and Buddhism and Jainism. They all accept these basic tenets of the Hinduism philosophy. The only difference is they differ in their definition of who is God and what is our relation to God. And I will talk about one branch of that philosophy, which is called Vedanta. According to that, I will talk about who am I, who are you really, and who is the person and what is the personality. So what is this creation? Who is God? And I will also cover a few select verses from Gita. And I guess if you have any questions, but this is the gist of a very small gist of what I'll be talking about.
Thank you, Santosh. I know that you provide so much wonderful information and there's great discussion in this class. So we're very happy to have you this fall.
Thank you. Mm-hmm.
And with that, we're going to head over to Pat Lambros, and Pat is going to talk about her 2 classes on Google Maps and Google Tools.
Thank you, Lauren. And I'm very excited to teach again for Osher. I had a break during the major COVID times, and we're going to start with Google Maps, and this is an in-person class. We'll be in the computer lab, and it'll be in November. I just want to give you the dates. On Thursday, November 5th and 12th from 3:30 to 6:30. And again, it's in the lab. And we will be very safe. As Lauren mentioned, I'll be having these wipes. There's disinfectants. We'll be 6 feet social distancing the way the lab is, and face masks. So without further ado, with custom map making and using Google Maps, it's my lifeline. And I love sharing all the tips and tricks. That's why it's an in-person class. So I can hover behind you in front of the computers and talk to you about the navigation within Google Maps. We'll be creating custom maps. On the first week, we will have a tour of all the features that are available with the actual airport facilities, finding all of the different walking routes, hiking routes, biking routes, all of these different areas. And then we'll be focusing also on how, when we make a map, how you can insert your photos. You can annotate a trip that you've taken locally around your neighborhood, or if you've ventured out camping, or if you ventured out on a plane these last several weeks as we move through this COVID adventure. So Google Maps also is an exciting. On week 2 I'll be sharing how you can use your phone and your iPad or your tablet to use your maps offline for areas that you're going to, for future trips and prepping for different kind of adventures. So Google Maps, I hope to see several of you there in person again in November on Thursday between 3:30 and 6:30. Now I will shift gears and talk about my second class. And I love this class. It organizes my life, and I help other friends and family to organize their lives. This is Google Tools with the focus on exploring Drive and sites. So week 1, now this class will be on Wednesdays, and it will be from 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. and November 11th and November 18th. So 2 sessions, just like Google Maps is 2 late afternoon into the evening sessions. So on week 1 for Google Drive, we will talk about how you are able to organize your life through folder and file structure, good file management, how you can create documents, sheets, that's like spreadsheets, forms, surveys, and we will venture in, everyone will create different docs and sheets and forms, and we will also create folder structure, and I'll be sharing tips and tricks on how it has helped me organize my travel life. I use it a lot for all the different adventures and trips that I'm involved in. And after week 1, where we venture into the basics and the navigation and all of the tips and tricks, week 2 is to help you create your own website. And it is all built in and integrated in the big program of Google, the Google Tools. That's why the title is Google Tools. So Google Sites is the website generator, and some of the things in Google Sites that we're going to be learning how to do is you will make your own homepage. So come with an idea in hand and your own home site. It can be an upcoming reunion plan that for family that you might want to make, or it could be for a nonprofit, or it could be organizing your recipe list, or you name it. You've got a lot of options and abilities, but we'll focus on creating a homepage, inserting text, inserting video, inserting a lot of photos, and it's an exciting class. So I look forward to seeing some of you in person, and I will turn the time back over to Lauren. Thanks, Lauren.
Thanks, Pat. And I can say that we've used Pat to help us organize within Osher too. So she does it all. Thanks so much for teaching for us. With that, we're going to turn it over to Bruce Landesman, and he's going to talk about his class, Democracy in Peril, the election edition. Hi, Bruce.
Hi, am I on?
You're on.
I have a co-speaker here. I think she'll just be quiet. And
Very pretty.
okay, so I am Bruce Landesman. Before I retired, I taught philosophy at the university, specializing in political philosophy. I have recently taught a series of courses, each of which has the phrase Democracy in Peril in the title. In the first of these courses, my main aim was trying to figure out what democracy is, how it works, and what enables it to survive. We also looked at other countries that had been democracies and had become authoritarian regimes. And a series of guest lecturers in those courses helped us understand how this happened in such places as Hungary, Turkey, Venezuela, and even the Weimar Republic before Nazi Germany came into being. In succeeding courses, we turned to questions about whether democracy is in peril in the United States. And the upcoming course as you can see on the screen, is Democracy in Peril, the election edition. We will meet 4 times on Wednesdays at 9:30 a.m. from October 23rd to November 11th. That is, we will meet twice before the election and twice after the election. We need to meet twice after because it probably won't be decided for a while. In our first 2 sessions, the ones before the election, we will talk a bit about democracy, but our main aim in those sessions will be to imagine scenarios about the election and what might happen if Trump wins or if Biden wins. If Biden is declared the winner, we will have to consider 2 general scenarios. The first is the possibility that President Trump declares the election rigged and invalid and takes steps to try to stay in office. The second scenario is that Biden succeeds Trump without complications. We then need to think about what Biden might do to respond to the great changes that have occurred during the last 4 years, dealing with the pandemic and the economy. So those are the first 2 scenarios. Biden wins and Trump doesn't want to go to Biden wins and all the transition is smooth. What then does Biden do to deal with the issues we face? If, on the other hand, Trump is declared the winner, we will then need to talk about what he might do in his second term. In particular, we'll have to ask, will he continue what many see as an attempt to increase his power at the expense of democratic accountability? Our last 2 meetings are the day after the election and a week after the election. The day after and the week after. Hopefully there'll be a result by the week after. We will use those meetings to talk about the outcome of the election and its meaning for American democracy. Everyone is welcome to take the course, whether or not you have taken one of the previous Democracy in Peril courses. If you have taken one before, be assured that most of what we will do in this one will be new, based upon the events occurring from now through late October. If you have not taken one of the prior courses, whatever you may have missed that is suitable to this new course will be briefly introduced at the right moment. So I'm teaching this course because I believe we can all benefit from having serious discussion about the highly significant events facing us as we get ready for the coming election and its result. And I hope this course will be useful in that way. Thank you.
Thank you, Bruce. I am sure it will. These are interesting times to be talking about democracy, and it's going to be an interesting election. So I can't wait to hear what happens.
We're living through the old Chinese curse, right? May you live in interesting times.
That's right. That's exactly right. We're now going to talk to Jeanne LeBert. She's going to talk to us about bird watching and her Friday field trips. Hi, Jeanne.
Hello.
We've got you. You go right on ahead.
Okay. All right. Well, good morning. My name is Jeanne LeBert. I am a retired University of Utah Health Sciences librarian, and I am a passionate bird watcher. So I invite you to join me for bird watching Friday field trips. Our group size is limited to 6, so we will be able to maintain physical distance and we will wear masks. We have scheduled 6 field trips that take advantage of a variety of locations. As birds live in different environments, this helps us to see more species. The goal of bird watching field trips is to practice your bird watching skills so that you are able to identify birds based on general impression of size and shape, plumage, song or call, behavior, and habitat. So by the end of the 6 weeks, you can expect to have seen at least 50 species of birds in their typical habitat. Week 1 will take us to Silver Lake at the top of Big Cottonwood Canyon. This is an easy 1-mile walk around the boardwalk. We can expect to see Lincoln sparrows and jays and nuthatches. On week 2, we'll visit the Mountain Dell Reservoir and Washington Park. We'll observe birds on the reservoir with a scope. We'll walk a short unpaved trail, as well as a short walk along a paved road that skirts the golf course. There are lots of chickadees, catbirds, red-tailed hawks, and ospreys in this area. During week 3, we will walk along the Jordan River, starting at the Day Riverside Library and heading north. This is riparian habitat. It's good for water birds, warblers, woodpeckers, and more. And then week 4, we'll visit the Liberty Park Pond. Week 5, we'll meet at Farmington Bay and spend about 3 hours bird watching along the auto tour route, which is always productive. Our final week, we travel to Antelope Island. We'll bird along the 7-mile causeway and do some walking around the Field and Guard Ranch. And I should be clear that there is a $10 entrance fee unless you have a park pass. There are 2 sessions. One starts August 31st and one starts October 16th. So I invite you to join me for this opportunity to get outdoors and appreciate your feathered friends.
Thanks, Jeanne. As you said, these are productive classes. It's amazing what you can find and spot when you're out bird watching in Utah. Thank you so much for doing this. And now we're going to turn it over to Debbie Lehman, and Debbie's going to talk to us about writing as a tool to cope with anxiety. Hi, Debbie.
Hey, Lauren. Hi, everyone. I'm Debbie Lehman, and I don't know about you, but I feel that there's a lot to be anxious about these days. Actually, just hearing Bruce talk about our democracy in peril, you know, all of a sudden I'm feeling anxious. But whether it's the pandemic, current events, or just life in general, writing can help alleviate some of these anxious feelings. But first of all, I want to tell you what this class isn't. It's not group therapy. It is a writing class. And it's definitely not high school English, meaning that there will be no critiquing of your writing. What this is it's called an expressive writing class, which means we're going to write without regard to grammar, punctuation, spelling, all of that. So everything you learned in high school English, college, out the window. So how it works is every week, I'm going to send a few articles centered around a weekly theme. And actually, you can see some of those right here. And from the readings that we have, I am going to provide guided writing prompts, which are really questions that are going to get you thinking and writing. And you can use a paper and pen, laptops, fine, whatever works for you. Numerous studies have shown that expressing your thoughts as they come to you, or sort of like a stream of consciousness, and putting them on the paper actually has proven health benefits and can help alleviate a variety of emotions, including anxiety. By labeling your feelings, you can create some control over them and provide distance from some of these ruminating thoughts. One of my former writing students summed it up perfectly. Basically, what he said was, quote, "Writing helped me dump all of the toxic stuff swirling around in my head onto the page." So my intention is to help participants express themselves in a safe and supportive space. Sharing of the writing is encouraged, but it's totally optional. I'll never call anyone out to read what they wrote. And we'll have a lot of fun along the way. So writing is a tool to cope with anxiety. Thursday mornings from 9:30 to 11:30, starting October 15th. And I hope you'll join me. Thank you.
Thank you, Debbie. I know I already feel better thinking about just dumping all my toxic thoughts on like that.
It totally helps. Just get it out of your head onto the paper, and then you can just
and then it can go away.
put it away.
Yep, I love that.
There you go.
Thank you so much. I think that's going to be a great class. And now we're going to talk to Carol, and Carol's a new instructor for us. She's going to talk about her class, Your Life is Only as Comfortable as Your Movement. Hi, Carol.
Hi, I'm on.
You're on.
You can hear me.
I can hear you.
Welcome, everybody. Thank you. I am so excited to share my passion for movement. My first time teaching for Osher, but I've been teaching through the university or privately for the last 40 years. So this class is an introduction to the Feldenkrais method. If you haven't heard of it, you're in good company. Not too many people have. And it's easier to say what it's not. So it's not exercise. However, by doing the Feldenkrais method of aware movement, your exercising will be smarter. And it's not yoga or stretching. Yet doing this work, you will become more flexible. And I'm saying that quite confidently because those are the things that students have told me over the last many years. Everyone is welcome. You don't need any prior experience. What you do need to do, be able to do, is even with assistance, and you're having a stool nearby, is to be able to get up and down off of the floor. Some of the classes will be sitting in a chair, some will be lying on the floor. The movements are slow, they're gentle, they're meant to wake up your brain and give you more possibilities for movement and comfort. What people have reported to me is that they become more pain-free, better balance, easier to get up and down out of a chair. They walk with ease and pleasure. And scientifically, the work works through brain plasticity. And the idea that as we age, we narrow in and have fewer choices of movement is only partially true. For me, I'm in my 70s and I have found expansive ways of moving that make me feel a whole lot better. So if you want to know if the class is right for you, please feel free to contact me. It's going to be on Wednesday, starting September, I have to look at this, starting September 2nd at 1:30, going through October 7th. And for me personally, it's soul medicine, that the side effect is more pain-free, more comfortable life. But this work feeds my soul, it feeds my self-compassion. Kindness to yourself comes first. So I am your guide, and you are the teacher, using your own body's wisdom to create possibilities that you didn't even know you had. So thank you, I hope to see you.
That sounds wonderful, Carol. I think as you describe it, all of us feel like maybe we should be taking that now, no matter what our age is. Start moving now. So thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Now we're going to turn it over to Margaret Landesman, and she and Jill are going to take two turns talking about masterpieces at the Metropolitan Museum of Art and the American Wing. Hi, Margaret.
Hi. So, welcome to our preview. Jill and I are co-teaching this. We've done this a bunch and we really have a good time and like to do it. You'll hear from her in a minute. Jill and I are both docents at the Utah Museum of Fine Arts. And we tend to take a docent-like approach. We like to base our classes on close looking at a limited number of objects so that we can look at them in some depth and so that we can have discussion and questions about them. This year is the 150th anniversary of the Met, planned to be events, special exhibits, celebrations, etc. We know what happened to that. But in the 150 years, the Met has amassed one of the really most distinguished collections of American art anywhere. And they have fabulous buildings and labs and libraries and research facilities, and we like to talk a little about those too. So I'll say a little about paintings, and then Jill's going to tell you about the period rooms and decorative arts. So paintings occupy a big portion of the three very large floors in the American Wing. There are 650 paintings in that wing of their 2,200 collection. So picking a few pieces is kind of hard, but we do it. They go from it covers from the pre-revolutionary era to the beginning of World War I. And of course, there's many other American, more recent works in other parts of the museum. We look for works that especially fascinate us because they're revolutionary, or they have great backstories about their creation or their acquisition or about their creator, or because they created controversy or scandal. We'd like to ask the sorts of things like, how did American art move away from European art? I mean, is there such a thing as American art? Do we have portraits that are different or landscapes that are different? And what kinds of social and political messages do works convey? So we'll be asking those same kinds of questions about other parts of the collection, and we're over to Jill.
Thank you, Margaret. So we are looking at the Charles Inglehart Court, one of New York City's great open spaces and the entrance to the American Wing. This wonderful light-filled space that is like a museum within the larger museum. And Margaret and I chose this photo because isn't it so refreshing to see people gathering together, the good old days, how we all miss them. Since we can't visit the Met or most other museums right now, for that matter, this course will give you an armchair tour as the next best thing to being there. This slide is where our first class will begin. We will discuss this neoclassical Greek revival style building, a facade of a Wall Street bank from the 1830s, and the story of how it came to be at the museum in 1924. On the floor, you can see lots of sculptures, including the beautiful gilt Augustus St. Gaudens Diana, the Huntress, which is a half-size replica of the weather vane that once sat atop the tower at the Madison Square Garden. On the mezzanine galleries to the left and right, as you look up, decorative arts like silver, glass, and ceramics can be displayed in the natural sunlight since they're not light sensitive. And we will be discussing some of these works, including Tiffany glass. Now, beneath this courtyard, you would not suspect that there are 6 floors of storage space for the Costume Institute at the Met. Margaret and I like to give you a behind-the-scenes story that most visitors might not know about. One of the hidden gems of the American Wing are 20 period rooms, which are historical interiors depicting 300 years of American domestic life. So we'll tour those going from Ipswich, Massachusetts in 1680, right up until Frank Lloyd Wright in 1912. Looking at the changes in social history and technology that affected daily life and the kinds of objects people made and used. I love period rooms because to me, they're as close as I can get to time travel. I've always wanted to go back to what life was like in different historical times, and these rooms allow us to do that. The Henry R. Luce Center is another fascinating part of the American Wing. It contains floor-to-ceiling cases of open storage. It's like venturing into the attic or the basement of the Met. It's a great place to explore and make your own discoveries and be able to look at objects, many different objects, very closely. Something new at the Met recently is the exhibition of the Diker collection of Native American art. This is the first time the Met has shown Native American art in the American Wing, rather than displaying it elsewhere in the museum, say with collections from Africa and Polynesia, or in an entirely different building altogether, like the Natural History Museum across the park. So we'll have some good discussions about this wonderful and important new approach that the Met is taking to Native American art. We hope you can join us for 6 weeks of looking at great art and learning together.
It's going to be great, Jill and Margaret. We are so lucky to have you walking us through this. Now I'm going to turn it over to Carol, and Carol is one of the most fascinating people I know. She's going to tell us about what she's learned in climbing the 7 summits. Hi, Carol.
Hi, can people hear me? Am I
Yep.
truly unmuted?
We can see
Okay,
you.
great.
Yeah.
Thanks, Lauren. Wow, what a ride this has been. I am a classic late bloomer, finally got my life together at about age 50, and then it fell apart. So my class is about how a shy, anxious woman who was afraid of heights became a world record holder, became the oldest woman in the world to summit the highest peak in each continent. And more important than the mechanics of the climbing are some of the lessons that I learned along the way about universal ethics, how to transform an enemy into an ally, teams that work, teams that fail, teams that transform, and that it's never too late to do something significant. Sheila, can we bring up my little PowerPoint presentation? I just wanted to give folks a sample, or do I need to do that?
He's got it up so we can see the start of it. We're looking at the first slide with crisis and never too late.
Yep. This will stop screen sharing. No, I don't want to do that. Oh, right, here we are. Duh. Now I'm trying to advance it, but it doesn't, here we go. So this is just kind of a chaotic slide to show how chaotic my life was for about 18 months. I suffered 4 major losses in 18 months and my own health began to decline. If we can advance. So I wanted to borrow some concepts from crisis, not only as a big disaster, which is how we usually think of it, but it's also an opportunity for change, for growth, for discovering new strengths and new skills in ourselves, and to open the door to a whole set of new experiences. I found that with my big midlife blow-up, I had been swept into a vicious cycle. So one of the first things I had to do to experience crisis as opportunity was to turn vicious cycles into benign cycles. So I'll share some of the ways that I did that. And then in the mountains, I found when I moved here to Utah in 1990 to teach and do research at University of Utah, I discovered I was my best self in the mountains. In the valley, I was a sort of shy, socially awkward woman, afraid of everything. In the mountains, I looked total strangers straight in the eye and shook them by the hand because I knew within hours we could be trusting each other with our lives. So this picture was taken on the Triple Traverse, which is a day-long adventure of going over several 11,000-foot peaks here in our local Wasatch. And then I went on to learn more advanced mountaineering skills in the Andes and the Himalayas. If we can move to the next slide. One of the most important things I learned about teams that succeed is there needs to be some team building early in the process. Now, I wasn't in charge of this. I would join international expeditions, which were led by trained mountain guides, certified mountain guides, but the good ones knew that it was important to put us to work. We were often complete strangers, in my case, nearly all the time. I didn't know any of these people. We were often from different parts of the world, different cultures, different languages, but doing something as simple as assembling a mess tent together would help get us on the same wavelength and trusting each other and liking each other as teammates. If we could have the next slide, please. Well, one climb led to another. To make a very long story short, I found myself at age 61 and 7.5 months attempting Mount Everest. This is a picture of Mount Everest. Actually, Mount Everest is that little dark sliver behind the beautiful pyramid white peak in the center, and then the Khumbu Icefall is the big river of ice that comes down, snakes down in the picture. Fabulous experience being there, the most complex experience I've had. Came near to dying, but I also experienced the happiest day of my life. So more about that when I teach the class. We could have the next slide, please. Here I had to confront my fear of falling and my fear of heights. So I learned some techniques in learning how to not conquer that necessarily, but to manage it. So I hope to pass on some of those techniques to people. And even if it's not fear of heights, it causes you anxiety, some of these techniques might help with other anxious making situations. Like teaching 300 student classes when you have stage fright. Next picture, please. I show this picture. This was high on the summit ridge to Karstens Pyramid, a peak that a lot of people don't know about. It's considered the 8th of the 7 summits. I can talk about that during the actual class. But I love this picture because it is so airy, and the contrast between the jagged rocky ridge that we climbed after doing technical rock climbing for 2,000 vertical feet, starting with a 5-day very strenuous trek through the jungle just to get to this mountain. Incidentally, the jungle trek was scarier and more challenging than the actual climb. And the climb was pretty challenging too. But I love this picture, the contrast between the jagged rocks and the fluffy clouds and the sea behind. Next picture. And then this is a picture of us just below the summit of Karsten's Pyramid. The actual summit is too small for more than one person. So I and my 8 climbing partners, the reason there are only 8 of us in this picture is one of the men had to take the picture because we were the only people up there. But these were all 8 of my Prince Charmings. And the man on the right spoke no English. He spoke only French. And when I tried to speak French to him, he didn't seem to understand. But we managed with smiles and gestures, and we became good partners. In this group of 8 people, we have 5 nationalities represented, a wonderful example of international cooperation and how this team, which nearly ended in disaster, came together, and we were able to support ourselves on this very dangerous climb and get through it in good shape. Next picture, I think we're nearly at the end. And then, it's kind of hard to see, but I'm down in the lower right-hand corner. This is a page from the Guinness Book of Records, edition 2019. It took nearly 7 years to get my world record recognized as the oldest woman in the world to summit all 9 of the 7 summits. Why there are 9, I'll explain in the class, but it finally happened. So never too late to do something significant. And I think that's my last slide. So I hope those of you who are interested in learning how to overcome anxiety and do something significant, no matter what your age is, will join my class. It'll be Mondays afternoon, 3:30 until 5, starting August 31st. We will not have a class on Labor Day. Thank you.
Thank you, Carol. I have to say that if someone who is afraid of heights could scale to the top of the world, I feel like we could do anything. This is going to be great. Chris is with us now, and Chris is going to talk about his class, History in Action, Engage in Your Community Through History. Hi, Chris.
Good morning. Good morning, everybody. Wow, I'll sign up for some of these courses too. So some of you may have taken some of my other courses. I'm an archaeologist. I work for the Utah Division of State History, and some of my colleagues at State History decided to do a joint teaching class to kind of bring what we do for the state of Utah to you all. And I think there's going to be some interesting discussions and overlaps. So there's a lot of archaeologists and historians and architectural historians and environmental historians that work in the government sector. And we've, over the last 15 years or so, there's been a real interest in this term called public history. And that's what we want to kind of explore, is that, like the abstract for the course is, history sometimes gets a negative slant as being pretty boring. And so how do we make sure that everyone has access to history and sees themselves in history? And so I really think that the best way we can do that is show you the tangible, show you what we do for our jobs. And so I partnered with a whole crew of very smart people. And just very quickly to go through the syllabus is, I'm going to kind of facilitate all the courses, but I want to bring in a guest speaker from State History each week. And so Wendy Rex-Astet, who's our History Day program manager, she's a great public historian. She went to Colorado, did lots of research on parks network there in east front of the Rockies. But she now manages this 4th through 12th grade education program that's statewide. We had almost 5,000 kids participate, and they engage in history directly. So they learn the tools of historian. They get to research their own ideas, their own projects, and they can take forms of documentaries or performances or papers. Or websites. And so really multi-format, but really trying to get youth interested in history and the lessons it can learn. And some of the presentations we've already heard today, there's a lot we can learn from history. Everyone thinks that this is the worst year ever, the worst historical event ever, the worst life ever. But when you look at things in deep time, it helps us get a little bit of perspective. Jedediah Rogers, who's also taught some Osher courses. He's one of our editors of the Utah Historical Quarterly. He's one of our public historians. And he's going to talk about the quarterly and almost 100 years of this publication and how it's preserved Utah history and engaged some of these stories that aren't getting told in other venues. Amy Berry, she came to us as our cemeteries program manager. But she's going to talk about the genealogical database that we hold for cemeteries across the state. But also in the last year and a half, 2 years, she's really spent a lot of time working with local communities to educate on preserving these historic cemeteries and tombstones and using the right tools and trades. So she's going to talk about that as a means of public history, is preserving the people that have already passed on. Corey Jensen, he's one of our historians that's focused on architectural history. And so he's going to teach you some tips and tricks, some online resources on researching old homes in Utah, but those lessons can apply broadly. And also talk a little bit of the architectural history of Utah, because I know a lot of Osher folks aren't from Utah. So he'll paint a little broad picture of some of the architectural styles you see, where they came from, how they changed. And then we'll wrap up the course with Doug Meisner. He's our library and collections manager. So we have the State Historical Society that is housed with us in the Rio Grande Depot. Whenever we get back to, kind of got knocked a jingle jangle in the earthquake in March. But he manages the Historical Society's collection. So we have hundreds of thousands of photos and manuscripts and physical objects relating to history. And he's going to do something kind of innovative. He's going to take you on a virtual tour of our basement, seeing you can't go in there right now for two reasons, earthquake and coronavirus, but show you some objects, show you some of the resources that you can see. So I think it's going to be a really fun way to interact with what is history, how does it reflect to you, and how you can help us. You know, we always need judges for History Day, and guess what? You don't need to have a PhD in history to do that. You just need to be a critical thinker and be good with kids and give good constructive feedback, or how to research your own family home or history and how we can all partner towards that. So I really hope we get a good turnout. I think it's going to be a lot of fun, and you don't have to hear the same person like me talking for 6 weeks. You'll hear some variety. So appreciate the time this morning.
Thank you, Chris. This sounds like a great lineup. Alan Morris is with us next, and he's going to talk about his class, Human Cognitive Limitation. Hi, Alan.
Hi. Thank you. May I share my screen?
Sure.
Do you have to assign that to me?
You should be able just to grab it.
Let's see. Grab it. That sounds like something that violates propriety.
Right. You should be able just to open it up and share your screen.
So share screen, there we are. And let's see if it shares the right one. Yes. Okay.
I don't have it yet.
Oh, there it is. You can't double click it. You have to share it.
Yep, now we've got it.
Okay, good. So I am a professor of medicine at the university and have been engaged for about 40 years with the challenges of decision-making under uncertainty. I've highlighted a few things that will be fun to explore. The first is that the basis of truth seems to be agreement, and therefore our perceptions, our human perceptions, dominate, and we should ask ourselves, what is the basis for perception? Now, to drop down to the next highlighted issue, we have done very well in evolution, and we now dominate the planet and in fact threaten the planet more than any other species. But the models we've used to survive and to evolve have limitations, and they actually impede our achievement of widely held goals. And we will focus on that and why humans, we ourselves, so commonly make bad decisions and poor predictions, including the people who advise you about investing your retirement funds in the stock market. I'll use medical examples, but they're only illustrations, and I'll have others, of how we should think of how we could support our decisions in other domains of human activity. So I will begin. Our sessions will be Mondays from 11:30 to 1 p.m. I believe they start the 31st of August. I'll begin with the aphorism, seeing is believing, and focus on believing when we have to deal with images like this. Can you see that image?
Yes, we can.
Okay, good. So looking in the mirror or thinking about things can produce perceptions that deviate rather dramatically from the truth. Let's see, how do I get back? Oh, I can't just switch. How do I get back to, give me just a second here. Zoom is not quite as error-free as I would like. There we are. The second session will deal with the credibility of evidence, an issue that has been rather profoundly highlighted during the crisis of the last several months and all of the information we've heard. We will focus on decision-making, confidence, and error rates. The third session will focus on the psychological basis of human error and the role that bias, political ideology, and complexity may make. And for that, I'm going to pop back and deal with psychological basis of human error and misinformation, which absolutely abounds on the social and web services that we all enjoy. I like this Saturday Evening Post cover prior to World War II because it indicates that our goals influence rather dramatically our behavior. And then we'll move to dual process theory thinking, System 1 and System 2 thinking. System 1 is the automatic thinking that gets us through life virtually almost all of the time. System 2 thinking is the conscious thinking that's rather demanding and will be informative. If you're not familiar with this, we will explore it in adequate detail to make it meaningful. Then I will deal with decision aids in multiple domains, the role of science in civilization's progress, and with regard to decision aids, the domain of semiotics, which is the domain of communication meaning and meaning of symbols like words. And we'll have a lot of fun with cartoons that illustrate the difference between implicit and explicit information. And then we'll end with cultural barriers and the role of experts, including Hippocrates, and what that means for medicine and for law and estate planning and other domains of thinking. That finishes my short presentation, and I'll turn it back to the staff.
Thank you, Alan. Always good to hear from you. This is a wonderful class. We were scheduled to have Kevin Peterson with us today to talk about his class, George Washington, an Ethical Biography. He's unable to make it, but Kevin is returning to Utah for this quick visit to teach us 6 weeks on George Washington, and this will be a face-to-face class. You can find more information, including the syllabus, online. And now I have Chris Schaefer with me to talk about Iran, its history, people, politics, and religion. Hi, Chris.
Hi, Lauren. Thank you very much. I'm going to teach a class during the fall about Iran, and we're going to, let me put on a screen share here. We're going to talk about the two major areas, the history and the relationship between Iran and the United States. Did that come up? The screen share?
Yes.
Okay, I don't see it on my screen, so I assume it's there. The history spans more than 2,500 years, and we'll go back to and start with Cyrus the Great. He's the guy who freed the Jews from the Babylonian captivity and helped rebuild the temple in Jerusalem. And we'll carry that all the way forward to present times, where we have Iran being the primary adversary against Israel, and Benjamin Netanyahu, who has fought a couple of wars with Israel through its, a couple of wars with Iran's proxy, Hezbollah. And of course, Iran has threatened to drive Israel off the map. We'll talk about U.S. and Iranian relationships. Under the Shah, Iran, of course, was a friend of the U.S. and Israel, but that all ended with Ayatollah Khomeini and the year-long Iran hostage crisis. Yet after that, after 9/11, Iran actually helped us get into Afghanistan and drive the Taliban out of power when we were trying to capture Osama bin Laden. Not shortly after that, Iran became our enemy when they were labeled part of the axis of evil by our president, and became, we believe, one of the leading state sponsors of terrorism in the world today. However, they don't see themselves that way, of course. They see themselves as defenders of the Shia majority, the Shia minority surrounded by a hostile Sunni majority. So part of our class will be to go into Shia Islam and what the differences and difficulties are between the Shia and Sunni branches of Islam. I meant to run through a couple of, well, I think my screen share doesn't seem to be working correctly. So I'm going to just skip that. Iran is also, of course, the home country of Romantic poets like Hafez and Rumi. We find that people in Iran are very friendly and well-disposed toward the United States, even though the Iranian government is not. Some of you may be interested to learn as we get into our discussions that the leadership of Iran today is actually fairly moderate and fairly well disposed toward the West. But coming up this year and next year are new elections, and it looks like the hardliners are going to take over the government of the country. So we are going to be talking about what will happen after their elections, which more or less correspond with ours, and what's likely to happen between the United States and Iran over the next several months and over the next couple of years. So I hope you'll find it interesting to come join me on Tuesday mornings. We start on October 13th. We'll be at 11:30 in the morning. We'll learn all about Iran and set the stage to watch and see what happens for the next few months and the next few years between the U.S. and Iran. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Chris. Now we're going to turn over to Rex Sears, who is teaching about a household favorite in our house, J.R.R. Tolkien, The Hobbit, and The Lord of the Rings. Hi, Rex.
Hello. Am I coming through?
Are you there?
Yes.
Okay, great.
Good morning. Let's start with, in a hole in the ground, there lived a hobbit not a nasty, dirty, wet hole filled with the ends of worms and an oozy smell, nor yet a dry, bare, sandy hole with nothing in it to sit down on or to eat. It was a hobbit hole, and that means comfort. I became a Tolkien fan at age 10. Now at 53, I'm still a fan. Maybe I'm as immature now as I was then, or maybe there was always more to discover than a child could take in. Tolkien had a day job as an Oxford professor of philology. Call it Old English if you like. He first wrote The Hobbit as a standalone. It was successful, so his publisher asked for a sequel, which became Lord of the Rings. In between, he wrote some essays in which he developed a sophisticated working theory of fairy tale and myth, which he then applied in Lord of the Rings. The product of all this deep thinking has more to it than a 10-year-old would take in. And it's not just academic sophistication. One of Tolkien's central conclusions is children have, as a rule, less need than older people of what fairy stories offer. I don't have time today to cover those things, but they'll come up throughout the class. I will point out that The Hobbit is a 40-year-old's tale about a 50-year-old's adventure. A 50-year-old who tells himself, "Don't be a fool, Bilbo Baggins, thinking of dragons and all that outlandish nonsense at your age." That could as well be Tolkien talking about himself. Could be you and I wondering about this course. But Bilbo and his heir, Frodo, are not children, nor are they obvious heroes. They are mature, well-meaning adults trying to do right, often coming up short, but still somehow making a difference for good. Perfect for an Osher class. Please email if you have questions about texts. I do recommend a specific edition of The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings so we can all refer to the same page numbers.
Thank you, Rex. I love this topic. Thanks for teaching it for us.
My pleasure.
And now we're going to go over to Lee Schuster. Hi, Lee.
Hi, hello everybody, and thanks for joining this webinar. I'm excited to be here. So I'm going to show you a little video that I produced. It's brief, it's 2 minutes, but to set it up, I'm going to give you a little bit of background. I spent 40 years in technology, and I started taking Zoom courses midway through 2019. And then I started thinking, wow, this is more fun than my 19-year career at the university in IT support. So I retired the first week of January of this year. And man, wasn't that good timing. So I taught my first course with Osher in spring with Emily's very competent assistant. We did kind of like the beta version of this same course, and we learned a lot. And one of the things I learned over my career, I've had kind of like a split personality between science and arts. And I got very interested as a volunteer up at Natural History Museum with STEM courses and youth. And I designed a course with continuing ed to be part of a summer camp for kids. And one of the things I found out about flight is it's one of those things you can have a lot of fun with and teach without even realizing you're teaching the core of STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math. But what about that art side? And what I realized in teaching this course in the spring was there's a side of art that we can introduce to STEM and call it STEAM. And that's where I got the idea to modify this course to mainly become a course about drone photography and videography. So with that introduction, I'm going to share my screen, and if all goes well, we will watch a short video. Hello, I'm Lee Schuster, and I'd like to invite you to come fly with me as we literally fly through this quick 2-minute preview. Starting in mid-October, this class will be on Thursday mornings. We'll meet virtually to ensure your safety from 9:30 until 11. I'm the guy on the left. Those are my grandkids, their parents, my wife, and stepson. I grew up in Ohio, and I served in the Air Force. There's way too much info about me on the right panel. I want to introduce you to this exciting and fun hobby. It's a great way to create memories and capture experiences like this surreal train photo. I want you to find this class fun. We'll have lively discussions, I promise. I love to make technology accessible to everyone.
In our first week, we'll explore affordable drones you might want to buy based on size, cost, and intended use. Next, we'll cover knowing your rights and the applicable laws. We are still a nation of law-abiding citizens, right? But we can't forget about staying safe. Mostly this is just common sense, but we'll play it by the book. Let's take some aerial photos. Think of the drone as a very long selfie stick with infinite possibilities. In week 5, we'll watch videos to die for. We'll learn how it's done by watching several YouTube high-definition videos. In our Wrap It Up week, you'll learn how to find additional help and make new friends in this growing hobby. Well, we just safely landed. Sign up for Osher 249 today and tell a friend. This is your instructor pilot, Lee Schuster. Thanks for flying with us. Please stay safe and may your days be calm and your skies be blue.
Thanks, Lee. This reminds me how much I have to learn from all of my Osher instructors. That was great. Thank you for putting that together for us. We're going to hand it over to Sally Smith, and Sally's going to talk to us about her class, Literature of Aging in the Family. Hi, Sally. You're muted on your end. We need you to unmute.
Mute.
There you go.
There. I'm enjoying this so much. It's great to be back, and it's great to see people's faces. And I liked it when Pat referred to the COVID adventure, and I've decided to maybe try to do a little reframing in my thinking around that. So this certainly is an adventure for me to embark on online learning. It's a real learning curve for me, and one that I think I'm going to enjoy a lot. A year ago, can you see that?
We can. Yes.
A year ago, in the fall of 2019, an intrepid band of readers signed on to read and respond to this book, Literature and Aging, an Anthology. I say intrepid because many of us do not want to face down the myriad issues of aging, let alone read about them, talk about them, and laugh about them. Literature and Aging is a wonderful collection of stories, poems, essays, and even plays about the dynamics of aging. The writers collected in this anthology are absolutely top-notch masters of contemporary American literature. Just a few examples that I would throw out would be Amy Tan, Bernard Malamud, Eudora Welty, William Carlos Williams, Alice Walker, and literally dozens more. The anthology is brilliantly divided into 4 sections, 2 of which we have covered in past Osher terms. In the fall, we considered aging and the individual, and in the winter, we talked about aging and romantic love. And then COVID locked us down, and I very naively thought, oh no, we won't go online. We'll just wait till next time, and then we'll get together in person. But that isn't going to happen. So we're going to get going again this fall with aging and the family. And then the 4th section of our book and course, which should be in the winter, I guess, will look at aging and the community. And again, this is through literature. We are now halfway through. Hi.
Keep going, Sally.
Okay, I see you, Lauren.
Yep.
Always good to see you. So we're halfway through and ready to embark upon the subject of aging in the family. As we know, the reality of aging can turn the family dynamic on its head. It is also fraught with unexpected joys and rewards. This class meets Thursdays from 11:30 to 1, October 15th through November 19th. This is a standalone class. It is not necessary to have taken the first 2 sections. Pre-enrollment has been offered to continuing students, but there still may be openings. The text is available at a 10% discount at Frost Books, and class or no class, I recommend it to every Osher member. Thank you so much for this get-together. Oh, and I want to add, every class, I want to take every class that I've heard about this morning.
It's a hazard, right? Thank you, Sally. I can see Bill is tuning up his ukulele right now. So Bill, we're going to take it over to you to talk about rhythm ukulele.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Good. Hello, everyone. My course is called Rhythm Ukulele, and in it we'll learn new ways to strum, pick, and pluck the ukulele to give songs more feeling and expression. I think it's fair to say that this course is suited for players who want to expand from a beginner level. And here's some examples of styles that we'll be playing. Down, down, up, down, which is a real common strum for maybe more advanced beginners. I like the way your sparkling earrings lay against your skin so brown. Or maybe more of a Western type of feel. Hey, hey, good looking, what you got cooking? How about cooking something up with me? Or maybe a little waltz in this beautiful song. Hear that lonesome whippoorwill, he sounds too blue to fly. Or another style, here's a jazzy little number with some surprisingly easy chords. Fly me to the moon and let me sing among the stars. Or maybe a beautiful 6/8, 6 beats to a measure. We'll talk about that in the course. Darling, you send me, I know you send me. So that's some examples of some of the styles that we'll be delving into. My course is on Zoom, and every week I'll be sending out a couple of songs that students should print out and have available, and we'll get into them each week. And it's a ton of fun. I hope I get max enrollment, which isn't that many because I'm a little reluctant on teaching this over Zoom, but we're all in the same boat. So enjoy this, and we'll have a ton of fun, I guarantee it.
I know you will. That sounds lovely. It's always fun when people have their ukuleles. Thanks, Bill. This is going to be a great class.
Thank you.
Now we're going to go over to Barbara Taylor. And Barbara, I don't know if we can hear you, but we'll give it a little sound check. Barbara's teaching mindfulness watercolor with us. we hear you, Barbara? Seems like we're having some audio issues, which is such a bummer because Barbara and I tested this out just a couple weeks ago. So Barbara, this is Barbara, everybody. She is your instructor for watercolor. We've got her set up so she can paint with you and teach alongside you. And she's got some great handouts that she's prepared for all of her students. So Barbara, we're gonna figure out what's going on. Stay with us, we're gonna see what happens, but we're gonna move on while we figure this out and go on to Vicki. Oh, we're gonna do a little test. And then we're gonna move on to Vicki. Stay with us, Barbara. We'll get you set up. We'll get this. All right, Vicki, let's welcome you to talk about your class, Direct-to-Consumer Genetic Testing. All right, and Vicki, you're muted. There you go.
I just did. So yeah, so this has been amazing. It's sort of one of these situations that if there isn't something for anybody on this website to sign up for, I can't imagine, because this has been so much fun to listen to. But I am back. I taught Osher probably 15 years ago and then got busy with my job. I retired last year after 41 years as a genetic counselor. And the following week, I signed up to become an Osher student. And I thought I was just going to stay a student until they said, teach what you know. And I know genetics. So the other fun part about doing this as a Zoom course is that I am actually going to be presenting a national faculty. I will be talking initially about the difference between general tests offered to the public versus, you know, what makes a direct-to-consumer test of any kind, not just a genetic test. But then what I've done is I've invited some colleagues. Megan Dorr is in Cleveland and actually works with a national research resource. She's going to be talking about informed consent and privacy. It is more than just checking that accept box that we all do all the time anyways, because there are some complications, especially around genetics. I have identified Mary, who is going to be talking. She is actually the head of an organization called DNA Hunters. I actually don't even physically know where she lives, but I reached out to her, and she's going to be taking ancestry in a little bit of a different direction than I might have, which again has really pushed me down to learning a little bit more. Locally, a colleague of mine, Amanda Ganneman, who also teaches at the University of Utah in the Genetic Counseling Training Program, is going to be talking about the health consumers. And I think that's the part that at some level, ancestry and health are two big issues. People do a lot of online spit in a kit things for ancestry purposes, but there's also a lot of interest in health. It was a very big interest early on, and then 23andMe got a cease and desist order in 2011 and are now back up and running as of 2015. And so Amanda's going to be talking about, you know, what some of that health, you know, what the implications are and why is it that you sometimes get different results from different companies. Christina Formia, who is at Intermountain Healthcare, is a pharmacist and going to be talking about pharmacogenetics, the interaction between drugs and your genetic information. This is typically not a direct-to-consumer activity, but there's an awful lot of marketing out there around pharmacogenetic companies. And then finally, I anticipate that there's going to be a fair number of individuals interested in this course who have actually gone through this experience themselves. But I have identified 3 individuals, one who discovered her father, her biologic father, as a result of doing 23andMe, and 2 of whom found out some health information that has really impacted their lives pretty significantly as a result of doing direct-to-consumer genetic testing. So on Tuesdays, if you are not willing to embrace aging or have a conversation about current events with Tim, I would highly encourage that you sign up. This is going to be, I think, a lot of interaction, and look forward to it. Thanks so much, Lauren.
Thanks, Vicki. And this is for sure something we're all curious about. So thanks for bringing this to Osher.
Appreciate it.
Marcy is with us, and Marcy's going to talk to us about her class, Beginning Ukulele. Hi, Marcy.
Hi, Lauren, and hello, everyone. And this is an honor to be here today. So I think this is my 6th or 7th year teaching with Osher, and it's been a lot of fun. And so therefore, because of that, we have a huge ukulele population in Salt Lake City. So that makes the class even more fun because there's always ongoing things to do after the class as well. So, but if you've always wanted to learn a musical instrument, this is the one to learn. People come to the class and they say, I have no musical experience. I've never taken any type of piano class or anything. And they'll say, I don't think I can do this. And I'll say, sure you can. You listen to your mother's heartbeat for 9 months. And so if you've got that rhythm inside you and it's just honing it and trying to learn it. So if you can count to 4, you can play the ukulele. It is one of the easiest instruments there is to learn, to get started and play easy songs. And as you heard Bill, it's also, it's a good instrument to master and wow people. People are just shocked when they say, can you play the ukulele for me? And when you play a song that is just a rock and roll song or something, they're just wowed and they can't, because they picture Tiny Tim, I guess, is why people do that. But you can do this. We go very slow. It is beginning ukulele. We learn 12 to 16 chords. They're just basic. And you'll walk away from the class if you just learn even those 12 chords with a million songs that you can play from just those chords. We'll learn how to do some basic strumming, how to hold your ukulele, how to build some good, strong habits, good habits that will help you down the road. So when you take Bill's class and you learn rhythm ukulele, you'll see how to do that. We build each week, so we start off very easy. Actually, the first week we kind of play some nursery songs just to kind of get you going. And I know that sounds so childish, but it's something everybody knows, and it's just to get us strumming. And then weeks after that, we're playing Beatles and we're playing Rolling Stones and we're playing folk songs and gospel songs and whatever you want to play. The first 2 weeks, I choose the music, and then I ask the class to tell me who would you like to play? What song would you like to play? And I'll either find an artist that you like or I'll find a song you like and we'll play it. So I make the class about you, and we do go at your pace. I watch the class. Being a training manager in my profession, I know how to look at people and say, and I can even do that over Zoom and say, you know what, it looks like we need to slow down, or we need to repeat that a part of last week again, because I want you to be successful and I want you to have some joy. So this is a great class to take, especially if you want to repeat. A lot of people will repeat the class, and I always say they didn't fail. People have always said, I just like taking your class again because I hear something new that I didn't hear the last time. But it's good for repeats. It's good for grandparents that want to learn to play something with their grandkids. I love doing that with my grandkids. Teachers love the class, performers, just anybody who wants to build a new skill in their brain. And music is a great way to build some synapses as we get older. Learning music is a wonderful thing to do. So I hope you'll come and join us, and know that once you're done, we have ongoing support. I lead this group in Salt Lake City called the Salt Lake City Strummers. Bill's a part of that group. He's our drummer and also plays ukulele, but we have a group of there's 200 people in the group. And when we were able to get together, we'd have anywhere from 50 to 75 people show up once a month to just ukulele jam. And we are not doing anything so difficult that you just can't manage it. We just have a lot of fun. We'll perform for nursing homes and we do a lot of fun stuff. And it's just a great little instrument to learn. So I hope you'll join us. And my classes start October 14th at 3:30. Great thing to do before you have to hit the stove and make dinner.
And what I love about this, Marcy, is it always looks like your group is having so much fun. So
we do
yeah.
Have a lot of fun.
Yep. Thank you. We have Debbie White with us, and Debbie's going to talk to us about 3 classes: digitizing memories, internet security, and removing the clutter in your life by creating and maintaining a balanced life. Hi, Debbie.
Hey, Lauren, thank you.
You're welcome.
Our digitizing memories is going to be, they're all online. And digitizing memories is a single class on Thursday, October 15th from 3:30 to 6:30. And there we talk about all of the things that you can do with the boxes of slides and the photo books that you have and the VHS that you have, and how you can go and digitize this on your own, or you can't. We learn also some things to make sure we look at if you're looking for having someone do this. But we go through step by step as to everything, all of the tips and tricks that I've learned over the years in doing this. So I hope you will join us there. The internet security class is kind of a non-technical class. I mean, we cover a lot of tips and tricks and things that best practices from a lot of different places. What it will end up happening is you're going to get a whole lot of information. We talk about the pros and cons of how to resolve certain issues within technology of our privacy, viruses, those types of things. But in the end, it comes down to what do you feel comfortable with? How much ease do you want in something, easy access and so on, versus how much risk you want, versus how much are you going to close things out. And you might decide, I've never yet had anybody decide to totally get off of technology, though that is an option. So it's one of those things that is kind of scary, but by the time we're done, you will have a lot of information to help you to make some good decisions on what you want to do there. That starts on October 22nd. It's only a 3-week course and it goes from 3:30 to 5. But we do cover a lot of stuff in those 3 weeks. The last one is removing the clutter in your life by creating and maintaining a balanced life. And we're going to look at the triangle of health. And it's very similar to what I heard 6 years ago with one of the speakers for Osher as to how to age gracefully. It's the idea that we have to keep our physical health there, our social health, which is challenging in the times that we've got right now, as well as our mental, emotional. We're going to look at some roadblocks that will keep us from being balanced. And we're going to look at how to let certain things go and how to bring in other things into our life. It's one where we have a lot of self-assessments. We do some discussions. There is some homework, not that anybody has to do the homework, but it's the idea that there are a lot of different things that we pack into the 6 weeks. That starts on Thursday, October 15th from 1:30 to 3 o'clock time period. And we do go over just a lot of different things and actually become, with all the discussions, I think a lot of people have met some new friends type things. So thanks.
Thank you, Debbie. We love these classes. Thanks for being a part of Osher. Now we have Beth Whitsitt with us, and Beth is going to share with us her class, Equality, a Self-Evident Truth. Hi, Beth.
Hi, thanks, Lauren. First of all, there is a tiny element of the title of the class missing. There should be a question mark after the word truth, because part of what we're going to be exploring in this class is the basis of, now I can see myself, so see I need to move this. The basis of the second sentence of the Declaration of Independence. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Where did the words come from? What did they mean at the time? How have they evolved? How has our culture evolved around them, and what can they mean now? This class is going to be taught in a more chronological basis than classes I've taught in the past for Osher on the Constitution, because I want to look at not only the federal court decisions that have informed us about what the words mean, but also the social movements and some of the statutory steps that have moved us one step forward and a half a step back over the last 230 years, starting with a kind of a deep dive into one of my favorite characters from the early constitutional era, Thomas Jefferson, the man at least given credit for being the primary author of those words, a man who was a Virginia plantation owner, who wrote powerfully not only for the Declaration of Independence, but in letters, diaries, briefs in court cases as a young lawyer, expressing his distaste for slavery, and yet a man who, through his lifetime, held over 200 slaves, including in-laws and children. A very interesting, enigmatic character, and in many ways symbolic of all of the founders and maybe of our entire culture and our difficulty in dealing with some of these issues. And for those of you who don't know me, I was for about 40 years a transactional attorney with occasional forays into adjunct professor gigs at the University of Utah Law School, teaching largely business courses. But I've always been fascinated by the Constitution and by US history. And I planned during much of my career, after I settled down and retired partially or totally from the practice, to teach constitutional law, not to lawyers or law students, but to people who are simply interested, because I view this as incredibly important to citizenship. Thomas Jefferson wrote, because I can't leave him alone right now, he's in the center of my thinking right now. He wrote this: whenever the people are well informed, they can be trusted with their own government. Whenever things get so far wrong as to attract their notice, they may be relied on to set them to rights. And I think he had a good point. I think the Constitution and the history surrounding the Constitution is central to our government and our culture today. I think it's clear that we are currently surrounded with lots of misinformation and confusion about what the Constitution says and what it means. And right now, particularly with respect to equality, what does that mean? But most important, and the thing that drives me and makes me passionate about teaching this history is fascinating. The characters, the stories, and the clear evolution of thinking. And as I said earlier, it's all about us as a culture or individuals who were engaged on various sides of this issue. Take a step forward and then maybe a step back and maybe 2 steps forward. I mean, I hope Martin Luther King was right, that the arc of history bends toward justice, that the arc actually of the moral universe bends toward justice. And I hope this is true. For those of you who've taken my courses before, this course will, as I hope I do every time, be somewhat different and add some new wrinkles and facts to the story. Last time I dealt with this issue, we looked exclusively at race in the United States and equality. This class, we're going to look more at the interaction among the abolition movement, women's suffrage, movements for LGBTQ rights, and others, and how those social movements on both sides of the issue have moved our thinking forward and moved our courts and their thinking, I hope, forward, definitely have moved things along. The course will begin on October 14th, Wednesdays at 1:30 to 3:30. And I hope we have a great deal of interest. It's a very exciting subject, and I'm now spending every day reading new books on all of these characters and trying to add some new information material. And I must also say, in closing, that I too have got a list of about 10 classes I want to take. This has been really interesting. I'm very excited about this term. Thanks, Lauren.
You're welcome. Thank you, Beth. I can't wait to see what you're reading too. And we're going to turn over to Scott, who's going to talk to us about short story into film. Hi, Scott. You're muted on your end. I need you to unmute. There we go. Oh, muted again. There we go.
Okay.
So I also am a retired lawyer, and most of the time I've been teaching film-related classes for Osher. And when I was practicing law, if I was told to take 2 minutes, I had to take 2 minutes. So I'm going to speed this along and try to give you some more time at the end here. For this term, I am teaching a new class entitled Short Story in the Film. I have picked what I think are 3 fabulous and perhaps timely films for us to watch at home and then discuss in our classes. These films include Ilya Kazan's Rear Window, A Face in the Crowd, Alfred Hitchcock's Rear Window, and Steven Spielberg's Minority Report. Each of these films were first inspired by a short story, and we will read the stories first at home. And then, and by the way, I will provide a copy by email to you of the story. And then we will come to class and we will discuss the stories in class in some detail. Then most likely in the following week, we will discuss the movie adaptations, again in some detail, and those of you who've taken my classes before recognize that we do go into these films in great detail. I will let you know the various options as we're getting prepared for the discussion on how to view the film at home. And that I've done with my other classes, and I have arranged this term through the University Marriott Library to have the first 2 movies available to stream to your home computers through a link that I will provide you. The 3rd movie, however, Minority Report, cannot be streamed, so I will not have that option, but I will let you know how you can obtain a copy of that movie to watch prior to our class. I do hope to see you in our classes that will begin on October 13th, which is a Tuesday at 11:30. Thank you.
Thank you, Scott. I know this is going to be great. This is always an Osher favorite, so thanks for teaching online and introducing us to these films. Jane is joining us, and Jane's going to talk to us about her class, Why Nations Succeed or Fall Apart. Hi, Jane.
Hi. I'm in a screen share.
Okay.
Can you see that?
Yep, I can see that.
Okay, then I'm gonna make it full screen. All right, hi everybody, my name's Jane Yeager. I've taught this course a few sessions at Osher. It's very relevant to some of the other courses today. It pairs with them really nicely, like Bruce's course and Alan's course, Elizabeth's course, and also Tim Chambliss. Of course, you know him. But anyway, my name is Jane Yeager. I'm a retired federal employee. I worked in the White House and several other agencies, and also consulted and taught at universities. And I want to share a little bit about this timely topic of why nations succeed or fall apart. It's going to be offered on Wednesday from 9:30 to 11 a.m. And many students take this course because they're worried right now. And so if you are worried that your nation is in jeopardy of succeeding or falling apart, this just might be the course for you. Because in this course, we're going to cover key concepts in categories such as less than 1 second post-Big Bang, thinking fast and slow, which Alan touched upon too in his course, real or not real, economics and ecology, how they're related, productivity and inequality, wealth or power, vicious or virtuous, and last but not least, the resource curse. In addition to having these key concepts for your critical thinking toolkit, you'll also get a framework for quickly assessing whether a nation might be on the path to success or failure. And you'll also get a comprehensive reading list, including really recent references like Let Them Eat tweets that just came out, The System, Who Rigged It and How We Fix It, and Deaths of Despair and the Future of Capitalism, along with chapter by chapter references. And you'll also get plenty of handouts like the elephant curve of income distribution, very handy. And you'll get to interact with a special guest speaker from the deep state. So again, my course is Why Nations Succeed or Fall Apart. Thanks for your attention. Stay healthy, keep learning. There's so many great courses coming up. I'm gonna have a hard time picking and choosing. I just love Osher and the Osher staff. Thanks very much, and I hope to see you soon in class.
Thank you so much, Jane. I think that slide made me feel tempted to say, I'll take the resource curse for 100. Felt like I was there. So thank you. And with that, we're gonna go over to Dr. Dave, who is joining us this fall, and this is his first Osher class. Hi, Dr. Dave.
Hi, good morning, and thanks to the 82 of you that have endured all of these presentations, because I think I'm probably the last one, Lauren. And I actually did teach an Osher class about 15 years ago, just one, a long time ago. So the class that I'm talking with you about is Dialogue, Social Justice, and Inclusive Community. And it's built on a class that I've taught for 10 years. I'm director of Peace and Conflict Studies program at the U and also chair of the mental health. I teach future psychotherapists at the College of Social Work. And the Inclusive Dialogue class gives students an opportunity to not just participate in dialogue, but learn how to facilitate it. And to me, this is a class I really believe in that I wish was part of curriculum for folks across the lifespan. I think we could work with little ones in grade school and middle school to help them learn how to have a conversation with anyone, especially in the world that we're all aware today. We hear almost every day how polarized we are across the differences that divide us, you know, whether it's politics or religion or ethnicity and race, gender, rank, meaning, you know, what the social status that I have. And the purpose of dialogue is different than debate. You know, every high school practically in the country has a debate team. Many of you probably took debate. The purpose of debate, if I was actually with you today, I'd say, what's the purpose of debate? And ask one of you to say, and someone will volunteer, you know, the purpose of debate is to win, right? The purpose of dialogue is to create relationship, especially across differences, and, you know, to create communities. We call them inclusive communities. So an inclusive community is one where it's safe for me to be who I am. And so I don't have to give up my individuality to be a part of a community. And our dream, you know, in teaching dialogue is to help people learn how to do that. I also believe in us older folks. I'm one of them now too. I teach a class at the Center for Teaching and Learning every year called Moving from Aging to Saging. And I think that, you know, that us folks who are over 50, over 55, over 60, over 65, we have potential leadership that's often wasted. So this class offers participants skills, knowledge, and values that you can use in your personal life. You know, when you're home and during the holidays, let's say, and people come to visit you, and there's a family argument about politics. I'm sure that's coming up this fall with the elections. What can I do to turn that from a debate into a dialogue so that we're creating relationship instead of creating misunderstanding and even hatred between folks that are different? You know, we want to put relationship ahead of our differences. So if you're a person who likes to learn experientially, and I believe most of us do, meaning that we are going to practice dialogue and even practice facilitating it. This class might be a good fit. What we'll do is in the first 6 weeks in session A, we'll learn what dialogue is. You'll have a chance to participate in some all over Zoom in a safe way. And then we'll work together to invite in guests from the community. And you'll select people and groups that to invite in who are people that are hard for you to deal with, you know. And over the 10 years I've taught classes like this on campus, you know, people have invited in every kind of group imaginable. You know, it might be someone that has a different religiosity or none at all than them, or completely different political orientation, or a different view on things like abortion, or right to life versus, you know, choice. Those are examples. We've invited in, I used to work at the Indian Walk-In Center for years, and we've invited in Ute Navajo people, for example. You know, this year in my dialogue class on campus, we're going to focus especially on race and ethnicity, because it's really up for us with the protests that are worldwide around police shootings of unarmed Black men and women. And by the way, that's a practice that I do in the community with some of my colleagues. I currently work with police departments as well as do dialogues in the community on campus around these issues. So this is something that I'm interested in and committed to. So I think I've actually said everything that I need to say, and just want to thank you all for hanging in there with all these people you've listened to. And thanks, Lauren.
Thank you, Dr. Dave. I'm thrilled that you're back, and I have to say you have taught me something that I use constantly, which is listen for understanding. And so I'm excited that we'll be teaching that this fall as well. So thank you everyone who joined us. I know we went over, and as Dr. Dave said, thank you for sticking with us. As you can see, there's a lot of great offerings this fall. You can find out more at our website, osher.utah.edu. There are class syllabus and class meeting times up on the website, and registration opens tomorrow. So 9 a.m. tomorrow online and over the phone, you can register. We hope to see you in class, and thank you so much for being a part of Osher. Have a great day.